At Veeva's IPO, the stock was priced at $20 per share. Today, it's around $220, which is roughly a 10.98% increase, or about 1,000% total return. Over about 12.3 years, from October 2013 to late January 2026, that works out to roughly a 21.6% CAGR. Now, to make this real, if you invested $10,000 at the IPO price, that would be roughly $109,800 today. Over the same period, the S&P 500 gave a return of about 305%, with a CAGR of roughly 12%. So the same $10,000 in the S&P 500 would be about $40,500 today. And here's another crazy stat. Veeva's market cap rose from about $2.4 billion at IPO to over $45 billion. That's roughly plus 1,775%. Veeva's all-time high was around $344 back in August 2021, and at around $220, it's down roughly 36% from that peak. So the big question is this the time to buy Veeva at a discount, or is the market still pricing in real risk from the CRM transition? Today, we're breaking down Veeva Systems. Veeva is a vertical SaaS company, meaning it builds cloud software mainly for one industry, life sciences. Its customers are pharmaceutical, biotech, and medical device companies, and Veeva sits right in the middle of some of the most regulated workflows in business: clinical trials, quality and manufacturing compliance, regulatory submissions, and even commercial field operations. Because it's subscription-based software, Veeva generates recurring revenue, and the stickiness comes from compliance. Once a system is embedded into regulated processes, switching is expensive and risky. And that's why the stock has been so interesting. Veeva has compounded massively since its IPO, but investors today are watching the next chapter: how the company executes its platform strategy in CRM and continues expanding across the rest of its Vault and R&D portfolio. So in this video, we'll do it step by step. First, we'll look at Veeva's stock performance. Then we'll break down what the company does and its products. Then we'll review the latest financial statements to see if fundamentals match the stock performance. And finally, we'll wrap up with the outlook and conclusion. If we look at the last 10 years, Veeva has delivered a total shareholder return of about 823%, outperforming the S&P 500 by roughly 500%. But what's important is this: the returns were not always consistent. In the early years, especially 2017 to 2020, Veeva was posting very strong returns, roughly 36% up to 94%. The major reason seems to be that in those years, Veeva was delivering revenue growth of over 20%, it was expanding rapidly, and it was being adopted by more and more pharma companies. Then COVID happened, and COVID massively favored high-quality software names, especially the ones viewed as mission-critical and resilient. Many analyses at the time tied Veeva's surge to accelerated digitization in life sciences during COVID and investors bidding up growth software. But after a monster run like 2020, expectations and valuation usually get stretched. Even if the business stays solid, the stock can go sideways or down because it's no longer surprising the market as much. So a mild negative year after that is consistent with valuation digestion. Then came 2022. Rising interest rates punished long-duration growth stocks across the board. And in late 2022, there was also a major strategic narrative shift. Veeva said it would not renew its Salesforce agreement when it expires in September 2025 and planned to move CRM onto its own platform. Even if the long-term logic is good, investors usually price in execution risk during big platform transitions. In 2023, the stock rebounded when Veeva started beating expectations and raising guidance again. But returns since then have been more muted as the business matures and the market watches the CRM transition and competition more closely. And honestly, this is a great reminder. This exact pattern can happen in other big tech or big software companies. You can get a few amazing years, then a pullback, and then more ordinary years. That's why I think a portfolio should have a mixture of companies across different sectors to help average out these cycles. Now let's talk valuation. During COVID, Veeva's PE went to an all-time high of around 130, and after that, the decline started. The interesting thing is that it's now near its lowest PE in recent history, around 43. And Veeva's PEG ratio is around 1.5, which is also lower than its historical levels of around 3. So if you're a value hunter, you could argue this is the kind of phase where long-term investors start paying attention, when people are fearful and the valuation is no longer extreme. Now look at the more recent move. In 2025, the share price moved higher, close to 300. Veeva's 2025 rally was fueled by strong quarters and raised guidance. But in November 2025, the market focused on Vault CRM share loss and competition, not the earnings beat. Even though Veeva beat estimates and raised guidance, the stock dropped hard after the company indicated only 14 of the top 20 biopharma firms would use Vault CRM, with Salesforce winning the remainder. Investors treated that as a signal of commercial competitive pressure. And in early January 2026, write-ups suggested Veeva could bounce with broader tech and AI sentiment, but it was still well below its high. That's consistent with a market that's not willing to pay the old multiple, while the CRM transition and competition question is still unresolved. Now here's the important nuance. Investors are reacting to CRM headlines, but CRM is only around 20% of Veeva's total revenue today. Veeva itself has disclosed that CRM Suite was around 75% of revenue 10 years ago. It's around 20% today, and it's expected to be only 10% by 2030, because other products are growing faster. So yes, the CRM headlines matter, but the stock swings often happen because investors treat top pharma CRM wins and losses as a signal for transition risk, not because the core business has stopped growing. Dividends. Now, a quick point on dividends. Some investors may find it disappointing that Veeva has not declared or paid cash dividends on its common stock, and it does not anticipate doing so in the foreseeable future. But this is very typical for profitable growth SaaS companies. They prefer reinvestment, R&D, product expansion, acquisitions, and sometimes buybacks later, rather than committing to a recurring cash payout. Berkshire Hathaway doesn't pay a dividend either, and Buffett has long argued that Berkshire can create more value by reinvesting, and shareholders who want cash can create a homemade dividend simply by selling a small portion of their shares. Other famous companies that don't pay dividends include Netflix, Amazon, Tesla, Adobe, Shopify, and many others. Now let's talk about the moat. Morningstar gives Veeva a wide moat, and Guru Focus gives it a score of 8 out of 10, indicating strong economic moat. The reason is simple. Once Veeva is integrated into a company's operating activities, the time and cost of switching is high, and the operating risks are even higher. A bad migration can cause data loss, disruption to sales activity, compliance issues, audit risk, and even delays in product launches. Now, on shareholders, Veeva is primarily institutionally owned, index funds and large asset managers with a meaningful insider stake as well. Top holders include Peter Gassner, the founder and CEO, with about 9%, and executive officers and directors as a group hold around 1%. So management definitely has real skin in the game. Then the big institutions, Vanguard around 9.39%, BlackRock around 6.81%, FMR Fidelity around 3.91%, and AllianceBernstein around 3.61%. These are exactly what you'd expect for a high-quality, large-cap software compounder. Quick comment, if this slow, step-by-step style works for you, join the channel. It tells YouTube to show you more of these long-term business winners. Now let's go into the company's operations. Because if someone is putting a bet on a company, it's a good idea to not only look at stock performance, but also to understand what the company actually does. Veeva reports serving 1,477 customers as of January 31st, 2025. In simple terms, Veeva makes the work apps that pharma and biotech teams use every day for R&D, quality, regulatory paperwork, and for the sales team. And in life sciences, strict rules mean the software has to be compliance-friendly. Now, CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management. In plain terms, it's software a company uses to manage and track interactions with customers, sales calls, meetings, emails, follow-ups, so teams can work in an organized way. Veeva sells pharma-focused CRM products historically built on Salesforce, and now it's pushing its own platform version called Vault CRM. Here's the kid simple version. Pharma companies have sales and medical teams that visit doctors. They need an app that remembers which doctors they visited, what they discussed, what information they shared, and what samples were requested. And it has to follow strict rules because medicines are regulated. Vault CRM is that special app. It helps the company's teams talk to doctors in an organized, legal, and trackable way. And is Vault an ERP? No. ERPs like SAP, NetSuite, and Oracle handle back office, billing, inventory, shipments, accounting, manufacturing, and supply chain. Vault is front office, the sales team's workspace, and it integrates with the ERP. So for example, a sales representative meets Dr. Smith and explains an already approved medicine, meaning regulators have cleared it to be prescribed. The doctor might want to try it for the right patients, so the representative requests a few samples inside Vault CRM. Then, the company's ERP checks inventory and ships the samples. After shipping, the ERP sends back delivery and tracking updates, and Vault CRM shows the rep what was delivered and when. Now, Veeva does much more than CRM. Veeva groups its products into two buckets: commercial solutions and R&D solutions. Commercial solutions are about selling and communicating. One big piece is the commercial cloud, tools for field sales and medical teams, and Vault CRM sits here as the day-to-day command center. And then there's Data Cloud, clean connected data about healthcare professionals and organizations, helping commercial teams make smarter targeting and outreach decisions. R&D solutions are about building the medicine and staying compliant. Development Cloud supports clinical trials and development workflows. Quality Cloud manages quality processes like training, deviations, CAPAs, and inspection readiness. And then Regulatory One and Quality One are packaged solutions focused on regulatory workflows and streamlined quality management. So the big picture is Veeva is building a full operating platform for life sciences: commercial, clinical, quality, and regulatory. Now, if we're planning to put our hard-earned money into a company's stock, it's a smart idea to pause and look at a few key numbers from its financial statements, because ultimately the business performance is what supports long-term returns. Veeva's fiscal year ends on January 31st, and their auditors are KPMG. On the balance sheet, we see about $1 billion of cash and about $4 billion of short-term investments. Combined, these are around 70% of total assets, which shows Veeva is a cash-rich company. And for that reason, they have no debt on the balance sheet. So what are these investments? They include corporate notes and bonds, U.S. Treasury securities, and asset-backed securities. They earned around $200 million from these liquid assets, roughly 30% of net income. This cash provides a cushion during major product transitions, supports R&D, and gives flexibility for acquisitions. Deferred revenue, around $1.27 billion current, is also a big number. That's prepaid subscription value already billed, not traditional debt. And the current ratio of around 4.5 shows extremely strong short-term solvency. Now on the income statement, gross margin is already SaaS-like, above 70%, and improved to around 75% in FY25. Net margin jumped from around 22% to 26%, strong for a company still investing heavily. R&D is around $700 million, which is about 25% of revenue, showing serious reinvestment. If we look at 10-year revenue by region, all regions are consistently increasing. North America and Europe are the biggest segments, and they're compounding at higher rates, while other regions are also growing over time. Now, let's sanity check the fundamentals against the stock return. Over this period, Veeva's revenue grew from about $409 million to about $2.7 billion. That's roughly 6.7 times higher, or about plus 572%. And profitability scaled even faster. Comprehensive income rose from about $55 million to about $716 million. That's roughly 13 times higher, or about plus 202%. So when we say the stock is up 800% plus, that's roughly a 9x move. And what's interesting is that the business fundamentals are moving with similar velocity. Revenue is up nearly 7 times, and profits are up about 13 times. In many famous companies, stock returns can run far ahead of revenue and profits, mostly because valuation multiples expand, sentiment gets hot, and the market pays a premium long before the earnings show up. But here, Veeva's revenue and profitability growth are actually keeping pace, and in the case of profits, outpacing the stock's long-term move. That's a fundamentally healthier pattern because it suggests the shareholder returns have been supported by real compounding in the underlying business. Now, it doesn't guarantee future returns. Competition, the CRM transition, and valuation all matter. But if the market is currently assigning a lower multiple than it used to, Some investors could argue this sets up a potential bargain phase where the business is still compounding, but the valuation is no longer extreme. Now, cash flow. Operating cash flow increased from around $780 million in 2023 to around $1.1 billion in 2025, showing revenue growth is converting into growing cash flow. With no debt, excess cash is being routed into short-term investments. One key nuance: operating cash flow is high, partly because of around $400 million of annual stock-based compensation. Stock-based compensation means Veeva pays employees partly in stock. It lowers GAAP profit and can dilute shareholders if too many shares are issued. For Veeva, SBC is about 16% of revenue, but dilution has recently been under 1% a year of total shares, so it looks controlled, not out of hand. And this also helps explain why market capitalization rose by around 1,700% since IPO, while shareholder returns were closer to around 1,000%. Outlook conclusion. Now let's wrap this up with the outlook. One of the biggest next chapter issues for Veeva is moving off the Salesforce platform for CRM. If this migration goes smoothly, it strengthens Veeva's independence. If it doesn't, it can weigh on growth and sentiment. Veeva benefits from the volume and complexity of pharma R&D, compliance, and product launches, and approvals are a visible output of that machine. Veeva tends to benefit when pharma is busy, running more trials, filing more submissions, launching more products, because that creates more compliance work and more regulated content to manage. In the US, FDA's Drug Center has averaged about 47 novel drug approvals per year over the last decade, usually bouncing between 40 and 60 depending on the year. And pharma has grown massively over the last 20 years. One estimate puts the sector's value at about $6.65 trillion in 2020. And looking forward, major projections suggest global prescription drug sales could reach about $1.7 trillion by 2030. So overall, I think Veeva has transitioned from an exciting high-growth tech name into a more mature company that still produces steady revenue growth, strong profitability, and a very strong balance sheet. And it now trades at a valuation that looks like a bargain compared to its own historical multiples. If you want more step-by-step stock deep dives like this, subscribe and join the series. Thank you for watching.